right, so they get a hold of me and they're like, "You want to come back?" And I'm like, "No, not really," like I always would be. And they're like, "Well, we want to do this Papa Shango thing, but it's not going to be so comical. It's not going to be, people aren't going to be throwing up black ooze and stuff, and you're going to be more wrestling, but it's going to be more serious, and we're going to make you more menacing." And so I got in a lot better shape. I got in good shape. I show up at TV. I got a new outfit. I got a new look. Jerry Lawler, who people don't know is a hell of an artist. Jerry Lawler paints up this face on me. I go take these pictures. All of a sudden they go, "Vince wants to talk to you." And they go, "Take your face paint off." I'm like, "Okay, well, all right." So I take the face paint off. I go, "What's up, Vince?" He goes, "Change of plans." I'm like, "Change of plans?" He goes, "We're going to put you in the Nation of Domination. We're going to call you Kama Mustafa. Tonight, you and Ron Simmons are going to wrestle The Undertaker, and you're going to go over." And I'm like, "What?" And you know what I said? I said, "Do I get paid the same?" He goes, "Yes, you do." And I'm like, "Well, then I'm in." So they gave me an outfit. I met Ron Simmons for the first time. I know, of course, I knew who Ron Simmons was, but I met him for the first time. I went to Ron. I'm like, "Ron, do you know what's going on?" He's like, "Man, I don't know what's going on. They ain't telling me nothing." And so the next week when we showed up at TV, they called me and Ron into the office. And then Vince kind of laid out what he was going to do. They was going to bring The Rock in and this is what Vince said about The Rock. And if I can remember it, it won't be word for word, but basically what he said about The Rock, he's like, "Do you guys know who Dwayne Johnson is?" And I didn't know who he was. Ron did. He goes, "Well, listen, I brought him in, and the gimmick we put on him, they kind of shit on it." He goes, "This time we're going to put him in the Nation." And I remember this clearly. Vince says, "Once I get people to hate this kid, when I turn him, he will be the biggest thing wrestling ever saw." Now, I don't know if he says that about everybody, but that's what he told me about The Rock. And he's basically like, "This is what I need from you guys." And he kind of laid it out for us. Ahmed Johnson, he wasn't really a plan of that. I think they just threw him in there. But everything else, Mark Henry and everything else that happened, we knew about. And we knew the direction that it was going. And we knew the end of it, too. And that's why me and my wife created The Godfather, because we knew the end of the Nation was The Rock had become The Rock. D'Lo and Mark Henry now are wrestling in tag teams. And I'm kind of left out on my own. So that's where we developed The Godfather and got some more life out of it.
And your most memorable character?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, man. I'm still the guy. The thing with, what's cool about The Godfather is The Godfather's me. And I'm not going to get into everything what I am, but you cannot be close. I don't know who's more The Godfather, me or me, The Godfather. But it was so cool being The Godfather because it was just me out there being me. And I wasn't scripted. I was never scripted besides having to hit a point or a city. I was never scripted. They didn't even ask me what I would say. And I was having so much fun. And if I was wrestling you, we knew the finish. And my matches didn't have a lot of time because you only had 8-9 minutes. And it took so long to get the girls in the ring, do my thing, get the girls out of the ring. You only had like 3 minutes. And so it was just the funnest time in my life, man, to create that character. And like I said, to have that type of freedom and creativity, or just to do what you want. And they literally wouldn't even ask me what I was going to do. And if I was wrestling you, I wouldn't tell you what I was going to do. I would just, I'm sure everybody's seen the one with me and Taker where I'm like, "You know what? I've known you a long time. I'm just going to say it. You like hoes." And, and the thing about him is he had no idea I was going to say that. He's just sitting there going, "You motherfucker, I don't believe you're saying this thing." And if you watch the clip, you'll see Paul Bearer go, "Oh, yes, he likes hoes. Oh, yeah." And so, just things like that, bro. I've had a lot of really cool, great moments and matches with people like that. But yeah, that's how I got in the Nation.
Damn.
That's how I got in the Nation. And all good guys, man, except Ahmed Johnson. He just didn't get it. And we tried to help him. We tried to, and I mean me, it's mostly Ron, but me too, because Ron's helped me. Yeah. Ahmed didn't get it, but the rest of us did. And it was good to see that everybody came out of that group with their own personality and went further with it.
Ahmed was one of those guys. It seemed like he had a big push at the beginning, like they wanted to do something.
Vince was a mark for his body, bro.
You looked like a giant, right? A big muscle guy,
Big phony muscle guy, but he just didn't get it. I don't really shit talk him. Yeah. I know Ron does, and D'Lo talks shit about him, but D'Lo stretched him one day. But for real,
In the ring?
Yeah, I had to tell D'Lo, let him up. No, in the locker room.
Oh, damn.
D'Lo and him got into it. D'Lo stretched his ass. And I had to tell D'Lo, let him up. D'Lo, let him up. Because D'Lo had him hooked. And I'm like, D'Lo, let him up. So D'Lo finally let him up. But he just didn't get it. We did that with Mark. Mark got it. Mark Henry was great, man. And it was a great group. Of course, I don't sit here and get to talk to The Rock too often. But everybody else in that group I talk to all the time. All the time. I see him all the time. I'll call Ron Simmons out of the blue just to hear his voice. Man, what? He calls me Kama because he met me. I was Kama. You don't call me Godfather. He'd be like, man, Kama, what you doing, man? What you doing today, Kama? You know, I just love to hear his voice, and he's the best storyteller in the world. And so I'm always positive. I try to live a stress-free life. But when I do have a little stress or negativity, I'll call Ron just to hear his voice. It'll bring me right out of it.
Ron Simmons, where does he rank as far as, tough guy list? Because his name always comes up.
If you look up stud, tough guy in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of Ron Simmons, a pure man, nothing but man. If you guys weren't lucky enough to watch him play college football, dude, he was a stud. He was a man amongst boys. I'm sure he could fight, but he didn't need to fight. He was like the Fonz. He was so tough, nobody wanted to fight him. Great guy, man, but one of the toughest son of a guns out there, man. And just football, but just an athlete. And to this day, still in great shape, man. But tough guy there, real tough guy, Ron Simmons.
Is it true that he had an issue with Ahmed Johnson in the ring, and that kind of ended Ahmed's run?
I think Ahmed hurt him doing something stupid, and he hurt him, and then kind of things went bad from there. Ron couldn't stand him, and Ron did not like him at all. And then Ron wanted him out of the nation, and so they agreed. They're like, let's get him out of the nation. And I remember him saying, how do you want to get him out of the nation? And Ron said, we're going to jump his ass out of the nation. Let me tell you something. And Ron, I don't know if y'all ever seen Ron whip somebody with that belt he had. Talk about a government mule. Boy, Ron would put a whipping. Ron whipped my ass with it once when he was out of the nation. But he whipped Ahmed Johnson so, woo. I felt sorry for Ahmed. He was lighting his ass up so hard with that belt. But yeah, Ron didn't care for him at all. It was over, I think Ahmed hurting him, and then it went further than that. But Ron didn't care for him at all.
You all had different paths, and The Rock, had his too. Was he receptive to, you guys? Because you guys are like the veterans, right, at this point?
When they called him in, and me and Ron, and I don't know, it was me, Ron, and maybe D'Lo, we might have been there, and we asked him, are you down with this? And he's like, yeah, I'm down with it, and this and that. And the only problem we had with him is he didn't want to wear the little Muslim caps that we wore, whatever they were. He didn't want to wear a cap. And then he didn't want to put the green, red, was it green, red, and yellow, whatever the sign was, black, green, and red. He didn't want to put that on him, so he ended up putting the little stripe on his shorts. But that was the only problem we had. But he completely refused to wear a hat. He goes, he wouldn't wear a hat. But no, after that, bro, he was great to work with. Great guy, great stories with him. He came to me one day. He came to me one day and said, hey, big dog, I can't ride with you no more. Because me, him, D'Lo, and Mark Henry were riding together. He's like, hey, big dog, I just can't ride with you no more. I'm like, why not? He goes, bro, every time I go someplace, I'm smelling like cannabis. And he says, and so I go do this appearance. They're like, Doc, you smoke? And he's like, no, I don't smoke. And they're like, well, you sure smell like it. He goes, it doesn't get me up. So next time he comes around, they're like, Rock, you smell like smoke again. And you keep saying you don't smell like smoke, but every time we see you, you smell like smoke. So he's like, dude, I can't keep going to these things smell like smoke. And I'm like, well, I ain't going to stop smoking. So that's when I jumped in the car. Like I said, there was a lot of driving back then. I jumped in the car with Ron and John, and then Mark Henry, D'Lo, and The Rock started riding together.